Hey everybody, Terry here, and today I'm going to change my fuel filter. If you're like most car owners, the fuel filter is one of those parts that is pretty neglected. Now you're supposed to change a fuel filter every 10 to 15,000 miles. Let's be honest, the average car owner will probably go the lifetime of their vehicle and never change it. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make sure that mine gets changed, because I'm pretty sure most likely none of the previous owners have ever done so. Now, I haven't put 10,000 miles on the car since I've owned it, but the car does have about 55,000 miles on it. So I got to go ahead and get that done, because that's a lot of miles on one filter if it's never been done. So this is a pretty straightforward project for the most of you. I got a few extra steps because my car has some additional skid protection on the base of the car to help protect the underbody. So I have to remove that before I can actually get to my fuel filter. So that's a step that the majority of you would never have to deal with. You would be able to just lift up the car and remove the protective heat shield around the fuel filter. But first, let's go over the supplies that I'm going to need. Now, for the most part, you shouldn't need too many tools. You're going to need a socket wrench that's going to have an 8mm socket, and I think you may need also a 10mm to do this job. For me, I'm also going to need a 1/2-inch drive socket set with, like, I believe a 30mm socket to get rid of the skid protection underneath the car. But that's something that you won't need. Make sure you also have some lighting. And then we're going to need the actual parts. Now, I went ahead and I got myself some replacement fuel hose here. Now, this would be your 5/16 inner diameter fuel hose. It's also 7.5mm. Would be another way you can get it. Mine's the 7.5mm, but if you can't get 7.5, most auto parts stores will have 5/16, which is basically the same size. And then I also had to go ahead and get myself some new vacuum hose here, and this one is braided, and it's a 3.5mm inside diameter, and it has a 7mm outside diameter. And again, if you can't get it in metric, look for one that has a 1/8 inch inside diameter and a 1/4 inch outside diameter. And then after that, you'll have to get your fuel filter, of course. I'm going to go with a Mahle brand. This is a really good one. A lot of people really enjoy this one. And there may be some variation on your fuel filter depending on the year of your car. Now, when it comes to the Z3s, your late model Z3s are going to have a simple fuel filter that just has one inlet here for fuel and then one on the back side for fuel. Mine is going to be different because mine's a 2001, and so mine has two for fuel on one end, and then I have a fuel and vacuum on the other, which is why I have to have the vacuum hose. Now, if you have a late model Z, all you might need is just the fuel line, the fuel hose right there. So we're going to have that, and then they also put an arrow on there so you know which way they have it pointing, and you want the arrow to point towards the front of the car, the direction the fuel is going to move, because your tank is in the back and the fuel needs to move to the front towards the engine. So it's pretty straightforward. And I did all my test fittings on the hoses first to make sure everything fits on there, because the last thing you want is to get underneath the car, get everything taken apart, and then you can't even get the stuff to connect properly. And I also, always write your sizes down too if you ever need to, in case you need to buy more. You can just have that on hand. You're also going to need some sort of drain spill tray, so that way you have something for the excess fuel to drain into, because once you take off your old filter, there's still going to be some old fuel in that filter that's going to pour out. So get yourself a tray to catch that dirty gasoline. So that's pretty much that. So let me go ahead and get this jacked up real good and extra high, because this car is low and you need the clearance. So I'll be back once it's all lifted. All right, as you can see, the car is now supported. I got it on 4 jack stands, so all the weight is on the jack stands. As extra precautions, I got some wheel blocks for the rear to give it a little extra clearance if the rear came down. We got rams, we got chocks, and I kept my jack under there just to help support it in case something happened and the front came down. I got lots of extra precautions, so we should be good there. Now, if you look underneath the car, this is where things get different compared to the average Z3 owner. So underneath the car, I have this skid bar on both sides here. It connects to the front where the cross frame is for the engine. It connects to the cross frame, and then it has this support brace going all the way across. And this has this really large, I think it's a 30 millimeter, but I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be a 30. I got to take this cross brace off, and that will drop the bars down in the back. And then I don't want to have to fully remove it, but I'll loosen the bolts that are holding it in the front just so that way I can kind of get it down. If I have to fully take it off, I will, but I'm going to try to see if I can just kind of lean it. I have an 8 millimeter wrench stuck inside this bar because I had attempted to do this last week without removing the bar, because there's some 8 millimeter little nuts underneath the bar to get the heat shield off, and my 8 millimeter wrench fell in between the body of the car and the skid bar there, so I have to drop this skid bar off to get those out and to get my wrench back. So that'll be that process. Now, before I start doing any kind of disassembly, I want to relieve the fuel pressure that's in the system. So I raise my hood. So what you want to do is go over to your fuse box, and there's going to be 2 fuses. And if you don't know where to find them, you're going to look at the chart, and you're going to see where it says fuel pump, and that's 13 and 18. You look up here, 13 and 18 are going to be in the second grouping right here, and it starts at 11. So you're going to have 11, 12, 13 is this number 5. And then 18, because it ends with 20, count backwards. 20, 19, 18 is going to be this blue one. So go ahead and pull those out. And a lot of times there'll be a little tool included if your vehicle still has that. And what this is going to do is this is going to turn off the fuel pump. And then we're going to try starting the car. And this is just to relieve the pressure in the system. So when we take the filter off, that's less fuel that's going to, leak out while we're doing the maintenance. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to start the car, and it should not start. And then as long as it doesn't start, we're good to go underneath the car. All right, let me go ahead and take this cross brace off now. My 30 feels a little loose on it. It's probably more of a 29, but I don't have a 29. I'm probably gonna need a breaker bar for this, to be honest. Okay, space. I think that should be loose enough. It's right where my handle hits my tire, and it's my jack stand. All right, I'm just gonna get it loose because I don't want the whole thing to fall when I loosen the other side. So I want to kind of try to lower it carefully. Looks like they got a pretty thick metal block that this bolts into before it gets into the frame of the car. I might just be spinning now because there's got to be a nut on top. No, there isn't, because it screws right into the body, like the frame. So there's I hope this comes out. Because, yeah, there's no way for me to access the top. It must be very, very long then. I'm hoping this bolt is just really long and not just free spinning. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's even better. Okay. Whoops. That's even better. Okay, so yeah, they have like a big bolt coming out of the frame. Heavy duty washer. And this screw on bolt. Like I haven't seen one like this. So it's like a bolt with no threads on the outside. It's got the threads on the inside. So it's like, that's cool. And then they got this big block on the top. Right there. That's cool. All right. Well, we got that one undone. So back to the other side now. All right, I'm back on the other side. I'm going to finish loosening this one, and I'm hoping it'll hang down enough just doing the back to where I'll be able to remove that heat shield without having to fully remove the skid bars. I like the design that they did for bolting it, because I was like, if they did a nut on top of a bolt on the top of the frame, that would be impossible to get to. So I'm happy that they did this other design. This is my first time seeing something like this. For those of you that work on cars a lot more, and you work with like the frames and stuff, you probably see this stuff all the time, and it's like common for you, but I've never seen a bolt that has the threads on the inside. And there she goes. Yeah, so that's cool. Now where's my little metal plate? Oh, it slid down there. And there's my little metal block. That's so cool. All right, heavy duty. All right, so now I should be able to retrieve my wrench. So now this is sagging enough. There it is. Ay! There's my 8mm wrench I lost. Got it back. As you can see right here, there's an 8mm here, and the other one is right there, and I couldn't get to it. But now we're in business. All right, now I can get you guys caught up to where it would be when you first go under the car, because you won't have this. If you do have this, leave a comment, because I haven't found any other Z3 owner that has this protection under their car. I'm the only one so far. So let me know if you have one. This is actually pretty unique. So, all right, let me go ahead and get in position to get these out. All right, so before I even go underneath the car, you come up to the front wheel to see right here. So this is where my skid bar comes up, and you see how it bolts into the cross frame here. I don't have to take that off, thankfully, because this one here is really hard to line it back up to get that bolt back in. So I took it off once, and then I had to take a mallet to kind of hammer it around and get it to line up right. Now it's tedious, so I didn't want to take that off. But you shouldn't have this, but you will still have the cross frame here. There's going to be an 8mm nut right there holding on the heat shield. So just go ahead and remove that. Don't you hate it when you have sockets that are sizes that you tend to never use, and then like most kits tend to not include them, and then you freaking need one? I don't own an 8mm socket. I have a 7.5 and I have a 9. I'm pretty sure this 9 is going to be way too loose. Yeah, it's worthless. So I'll have to use my little wrench. Socket would be way easier to work with, but I don't have an 8mm socket. I need to buy a kit that has all the sizes below a 10, so that way I can have all the really small ones, because I have a couple of them in a couple half sizes, but I do have quite a bit missing from I think the smallest one I got is a 6. I don't think they make anything smaller than that, though, to be honest. Maybe I can get that by hand. Nope. And this would be off already if I had a socket. Having the correct socket sizes, and then I want to invest in some impact wrenches too. Get all 3 sizes of the impact wrenches. I gotta, because all I use are hand tools, and I would love some impact wrenches to speed the process up on some of this stuff. All right, got it. This is an actual screw. An actual screw. All right, so that one's out. Don't lose it, and don't put it somewhere where it's going to puncture your tire. All right, and then we head back to the middle, underneath the driver door, if you have the North American car at least. And we got these 2 8s here. So this one here, I have a lot of clearance. This one here might be a little tighter here because I haven't dropped the bar fully, but as long as I can screw that off, it'll do. And if I drop my wrench, I have enough clearance now to get my fingers in between there to slide it back out, so I'm not too worried about it. See how long this is? I never would have got this out prying in between here, but like I had originally tried. This is way too long. It never would have worked. Finally. Good Lord. So I might be forced to drop the bar completely out of here. Which, I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but I really didn't want to. Honestly, I'm going to have to. I'm not going to be able to drop this down enough. I already know. All right, let's take this stupid bar off again. I'll have to make sure I put the front one in first, because I got to line it up with that hole. Otherwise, if I do the cross frame first, I'm not going to be able to line this up when I put it back in. It's a 17. There we go. Big difference. All right, this should be falling really soon. Okay, I'll just let it hang there. It dropped it enough. Yeah, you got these big, hefty bolts holding the front on there. All right, well, that dropped the bar some more. So yeah, so everybody else, you just come under here, you pop these 3 8s, these 3 8mm out, and then you go to the inside, and you're going to have, I think, 2 10mm, maybe 3, I can't remember. There's at least 2 that you'll get. So your process is significantly easy. You're just going to pull these nuts out and these screws, and you're good to go. You won't have to fight with the skid bar in your way. But I mean, I don't hate the skid bar. I've used it quite a bit in my area because I live in a part of Georgia where this town was built as a military town during the Civil War. We have an old fort here from the Civil War, and a lot of these roads are the old brick roads that they had from the Civil War period, and so they're very rough and jagged and uneven, and this car scrapes like you wouldn't believe on them. So I'm happy. That's probably why I have the skid protection here. Even driveways are so uneven that you scrape on driveways. All right, that one's out. Hallelujahs. Now we can go into the inside. And I hope this bar don't fall the rest of the way and smack me in the face. So right in here is the other side of the heat shield. You're going to have a 10mm little weird little clip nut here. And then you go further down. You go to the other side of your bracing for your transmission. And there's another one right here that you gotta get off, and then remove this hose from the little clips holding it in, and then you should be able to just drop the heat shield altogether. Get the hose out first, so when the heat shield falls, it doesn't pull on the hose. Come on. There we go. There. Now that hose is no longer touching, being held in, at least. And these aren't like true nuts. These are kind of like a weird little clip thing. You'll see when we get there. And these are 10 millimeter. And like I said, see, like these are not like a regular nut. It's like this weird little aluminum, kind of like punched out nut. They're different. It's not like a true nut. It's just like someone took a bottle cap and they punched it to mold over a nut. Very weird. All right, before I drop this fully down, there might be something else holding it still. Let me go get my drain pan, and I gotta put some eye protection on, because in case there were any leaks, I don't want any fluids going into my eyes. There could be fueling leaking here, there could be oil leaking here, there could be all kinds of stuff, so I don't want that dripping into my eyes. So make sure you put gloves on too, because you don't want any fuel on your skin. I think I have one more 8 millimeter on here somewhere. Feels like I have one more. Yeah, I do. Darn it. So there's another one. Towards the front of the car, there's another one. Right up in here. So you'll have a total of 4 8 millimeters to take out, and then the 2 10s. So let me get this other 8. I'm going to do that from the other side of the car, because it's uncomfortable doing it from underneath, especially when that crossbar is right there in my face. I went and got some lighting. So it'd be a lot easier to spot these if you don't have this skid bar covering them all up like I do. But let's go ahead and get this one out, this screw. Good feeling I gotta drop this bar. I gotta drop this bar. Ooh, there we go. Now I can see. All right. This heat shield should just fall once I get this one out. All right, there she is. Perfect. Now that we have the heat shield off, we have this beautifully exposed, and you're gonna have another 10 millimeter right up in here holding the actual filter on. So before I take that one off and drop this, I want to loosen the hoses so that way I can just yank this whole thing off. And make sure you have your tray underneath to catch the mess. All right, you're gonna need a screwdriver to loosen the clamps. We start down on this end. you'll see we have the vacuum line. It's not even clamped on, it just kind of sits there. We'll be able to pull that off. And it's already broken, so that's gonna just break. Okay, we got all new one. So let's just go ahead and kind of pry that off with a screwdriver. All right. And then you're gonna take this clamp off. So like right here, you got your two clamps. I'm replacing this hose, so I'm gonna take the one the furthest away off because this whole thing is getting replaced. All right, that one's loose. And then we come to this other end here, and we're gonna loosen these two. And this is a Mahle filter already on here, so I'm just putting the same thing back on it. Remember, some fuel will leak out. It's going to be just the excess fuel sitting in the filter itself. And we did release pressure, so it should hopefully not be too bad. All right, these clamps are all loose. And now this tent. I've had that EVAP code, that P0440. I made a video about it, trying to attempt to fix it by replacing my fuel cap and cleaning the area out. And for me, that didn't work. I'm thinking this vacuum line here, which is super brittle and cracked, it's possible that's where my EVAP leak is coming from, is right there. So after I replace this stuff, here comes the fuel, I can feel it. Oh, there goes my washer. Pull that out because I don't want that to be swimming in gasoline. All right, so you get your little flange nut. All right. So I was trying to say, once I get this off here, should just be that one holding it there. I'm gonna clear my my error code, and just hopefully it won't come back. If it comes back, then I have another EVAP leak somewhere else, and I might need to get a smoke machine to figure out where it is, because this is the only other vacuum line that I know of that I haven't replaced yet on this vehicle. Okay. All right. Now we got that protective little brace off. So once I break all these hoses loose, she'll come falling down. Sorry, I'm resting this skid bar on my chest, and it's kind of heavy. So I feel like it's trying to choke me out at times. I don't care if I damage this hose. I might just need to cut it, to be honest. But here, I might need to loosen it from the filter and then break it off the rest of the way. I'm going to kind of cut the hose a little bit. I'm replacing it anyway. Just get these hoses off, and then you'll be able to get it down. So I'll come back once I get those off. All right, as you can see, I got the one hose off. I got the fuel pouring out of the filter right now. That's all I'm doing, is getting the rest of these loose, because I don't want to break. You don't want to break the hard line. So I was prying it with the screwdriver. I was bending the heck out of the filter itself to get it off. But I mean, we're replacing the filter, so I didn't care if I broke the the nipple off of there because it's trash anyway. I just needed to separate it from the hose, and then I gotta peel the hose off all these hard lines. And put new hose on. And so far, how long has this been taking me? Oh my gosh. I've already been doing this for 2 hours. Again, I have extra steps because I had to take the skid bars off. And now I'm fighting with this hose that doesn't want to come off. So hopefully when you guys tackle this, it won't take you over 2 hours. Okay. Those clamps are there. I got one more clamp. Doesn't really want to loosen much more, but it doesn't want to fit over the part that bulged either because it's... Oh, come on. I just need you to shimmy yourself down. Just shimmy, shimmy. Okay. I'll slide those down out of the way so we don't lose them. So then, now just prying this crap off. Again, if I damage the filter, I don't care. I actually have a tool meant for this. I should go grab it. I'm gonna go do that. Got this tool. Let's see if it actually will work on here. This is what it's designed for, so it better work on here. It's kind of working. So much better when you have the right tool. So you get yourself one of these. It's to help pull hoses apart. It's literally what it's for, and it's working. So I highly recommend it for this job. These hoses are on here tight. Being careful, I don't want to crack the hard line. Okay, that one popped. Got some airflow. So then the fuel is coming out of that filter. And now we can get the other one. Okay, I might be able to just twist this off now that it's the last one. Just be very careful that I don't break anything here. There we go. Oh, thank gosh. Oh, thank gosh. That was such a pain in the rear. All right, we got it. It's going to drip some fuel for a little bit. Try to get the remainder of this hose off. Now I can twist. Oh, son of a gun. This is a workout. This is a blasted workout, fellas. That's off. Now I just gotta get the one at the front again. Oh. I'm not left-handed, and I have to do this left-handed. I'm just twisting it off. There we go. And there's the other one. Victory! With that off, I went ahead and cut some new pieces of hose. So I'm just going to go ahead, slip the hose on the new filter and get it on so that way my fuel stops leaking, because even though the filter's off, my fuel is still leaking and I got quite a bit in here now. So I'm just losing very expensive 93 gasoline. So I got to get this sealed back up. I have the upper and lower hoses in position, so let's go ahead and get under there and get this assembled. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this reinstalled so I can hopefully stop leaking gasoline everywhere. Okay, that's on that end. And I have it upside down. I gotta rotate it around again because look over here. I have it upside down because now this fuel filter is going to vacuum and vacuum's going to fuel, so I gotta rotate it. So let me spin this around and get it right. Okay, that one's on. And I think I made this other hose way too long to slip this on. Or honestly, these other hoses are probably too long. So I'm gonna have to cut these ones a little shorter. I'm gonna try getting the front one on first. Okay. Woo! I got it together. No longer leaking. I did move my one fuel line, so I hope I didn't break it somewhere. I'm hoping I just broke a clamp that was holding it. And that is it, because I struggled to get that to fit back together, but she's back together. Now I can get this tray out of here. I lost a lot more gasoline than what I had wanted to, unfortunately, but unavoidable. Okay, so now I'm going to put the little bracket back on that holds it in place, and then we'll get the hoses tightened. I forgot to mention that the hose clamps that are going to be on your fuel lines, those ones are one-time use. You can loosen them, but there's no way to retighten those. So you are going to want to make sure you go and pick yourself up some different hose clamps, so that way you can retighten the filter to the new hoses. All right, we got the new fuel filter all in. As you can see, we got some new hose clamps right there. And make sure you don't get the worm ones that have the serrated edges on there, because that could dig into your fuel line and you don't want to risk having a fuel leak. So get ones made for your fuel lines. And then we got the clamp right here on, and we got this one all put together. Got the vacuum line on there. There's this screw that's coming out. Like there's another one right here. Got like these screws poking out. So I went and I put some Gorilla Tape over that screw, because I was worried that the threads on that screw would rub up against my vacuum line and slowly cut it over time. So I kind of taped over the threads just to try to give some added protection. I don't want that screw intentionally slicing into my vacuum line right there. But we're all put together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the fuses back in, and we're going to start the car, and we're going to make sure we have no fuel leaks before I put the heat shield back on. I don't want to have it all put away and then here I'm leaking gas. So we're going to give it a quick test, and this way it can get under pressure, and we'll see if we have any leaks, and if we do, we'll tighten these down some more, and then we'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and see if it's leak free. Now when you go to do the test, when you start the car, it's not going to want to start right away because you're not going to have any fuel in that new filter, so it's going to take some time. So just turn the key to the on position, so that way your pump can kick in and start pushing fuel in. Then turn the key back off. Go ahead and turn the key to the on position again. Re-engage the pump again, and then try to start it. If it don't start, turn the key off. Turn the key on to on. Wait a couple seconds for the pump, and then go ahead and try on the ignition to start the car, and it should start right up. You just got to kind of prime it a little bit to get that fuel pushed through that new filter. And all right, car's running. And I don't see any leaks. And then you should be good to go. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the heat shield back on and get the my skid bars put back on, and this will be a job done. So heck yeah. And then oh yeah, and I'm also going to clear my my EVAP code, and I'm going to drive the car around, and hopefully that code doesn't come back. I really hope that that vacuum hose down there was the EVAP leak, but only time will tell if the code comes back. But let's go ahead and get everything put back together. All right, everyone, the Z3 is now back on the ground, and I'm going to go take it for a test drive to see if my fault code comes back, because I really, really hope that changing out this fuel filter fixed that EVAP leak I've been having. Fingers crossed anyway. I'll keep you all updated if it comes back, because then I'll have to get a smoke test done to try to see if we can't locate where my EVAP leak is coming from. But overall, this is an easy process. Majority of you won't have to deal with that skid protection underneath, so you will simply be able to just lift your car, remove the heat shield, and then swap out the fuel filter. So good luck to all of you who may still need to do this. Remember, fuel filters are only good for 10 to 15,000 miles. Most of us are well overdue. Go ahead and get it done today. And with that, I want to thank you all so much for checking out my video. I really hope you found it useful. And if you did, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, give it a like, and tell your friends who also like car stuff to come check out my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, make sure you also check me out over on Instagram at CoolCatTerri, and I'll see you later. Bye.